You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There, latest things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate it. As always, for over 16 years, 2,300 episodes, we've been getting the Chris Voss Show. And boy, my arms are tired. I just flew in. No, I'm just kidding. We just hit 8,500 videos on YouTube. Be sure to go check those out as well. As always, we have the smartest people on the show, the CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, Pulitzer Prize winners, the brilliant professors, all the folks who come on the show to share with you their journeys, their how they got through their crises of life and survived them, to let you know they're not alone. They bring you their stories, the stories we like to call the owner's manual to life. But in the meantime, guilt and shaming going on, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Refer to your family and friends. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTokity. Chris Voss, Facebook.com. Our latest entry into the author page, what the, just making stuff up now, really, is the latest book to come out, February 18th, 2025, How to Get Along with Anyone, the playbook for predicting and preventing conflict at work and at home. John Eliot and Jim Guinn are going to be joining us on the show. They're going to be talking to us about their latest insights on how you can avoid conflicts. But where's the fun in that? I mean, isn't it better if we're at each other's throats? I don't know. Maybe. We'll find out. They'll be telling us. John Eliot is a doctor and PhD who mentors executives and advises professional sports teams, coaches, and athletes on how to apply individual and organizational psychological principles for enhancing health, performance, workplace culture, and the bottom line. He's consulted for NASA, the U.S. Olympic Committee, and the Mayo Clinic, Sony, Microsoft, and other Fortune 500 companies. Jim Guinn is the president of the Resolution Resource Group, a training and development company that works with Fortune 500 companies, professional sports franchises, large-scale school districts, universities, large firms, and governments on effectively handling conflict. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you both?
We're doing great. Good. You have all these, insightful, smart people on the show, and then you have us two yahoos.
Oh, come on! I mean, one of you got a PhD, and I think another one had what's the ED? I'm not familiar with that the term there, Jim.
It's just so my wife will call me doctor. That's
okay, all right.
She's an amazing nurse, so that was my hope.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. I did some of that when I was a kid, played doctor and nurse. Anyway, so give us .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs and stuff?
We're at The Conflict Docs, DOCS, theconflictdocs.com.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside the book. I'll give you each a shot at it. So whoever grab it first and run with it.
See, we're both a couple mediators, so we're like, no, you go first.
No, you
go first. Yeah, you go first.
So,
knock it off.
30,000 foot overview is whole background was in resolving conflict once it had escalated. Over 1,000 divorces, bunch of crazy conflict in a lot of places, and decided, man, can we get on the front end of that? Can we start to predict and prevent conflict before you have to come see us in mediation or in some of these other settings? So, hey, can we equip people with some practical skills to head that off, and so that way it makes our job easier later.
And as you said earlier, if you're leading a life that's free of conflict, you're one boring human being. And help people flip the script and realize that conflict is healthy, is good, and at the end of the day is what you use to build relationships.
Now, is that just conflict or is that hand-to-hand combat?
Oh, hand-to-hand combat's even better because then you get the workout component.
Yeah, that's true.
You start to pick moves and blocking and all kinds of things.
And if you make a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, I figure that's most marriage arguments, hand-to-hand combat. I've never been married, but that's what I hear.
But when you're Steven Seagal with your spouse, you got to make sure the furniture's out of the way.
That's true, boy. One of you is married, evidently. So,
18 years. That's because I went to a school that was a 5-to-1 girl to guy ratio, and so I proposed right before we got out, and so she didn't know any better. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's the way to go, I guess. What made you guys want to write this book? Why did you feel it was important?
So I know, for us with all the trainings and stuff that we do, we go do a training with a sports team or school district or church or business or whatever, and people come up after and be like, hey, so okay, that's great with my coworker, but I have this cousin, this roommate, this in-law. Will this work with my teenager? Because I don't know. And so, so much of what we do, it was, man, okay, it's business, corporate related, but these skills are resolving conflict. And for most of us, that emotion, it spikes more at home, it spikes more in friendships and relationships. And so that was the main focus.
There you go. Anybody you want to jump in here?
Yeah, the practical applications to just the little ups and downs in life are far more important than resolving the big, hairy, emotional, crazy conflict. Yeah, that's important, right? You got to dealing with emergencies. But most of us, the type of conflict we deal with are the little things that irk us from day to day. And having some practical skills you can put in place to either eliminate that stuff or deal with it efficiently. Say like there aren't any good resources, right? And most of the resources are one size fits all, or they're prescriptive. And at the end of the day, we're all different, and we've got funny quirks and peccadillos, and people are sort of odd creatures. And to have some tools to understand our differences, to use them to our benefit, we thought somebody's got to do something on that. Why don't we do it?
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to do something, and we live in kind of a pretty polarized sort of environment right now, especially with politics. And, and people have trouble having, family get-togethers sometimes for Thanksgiving and holidays lately, these last 8 years or something. And so, we need some help. We need some tools because, social media doesn't seem to contribute very well to bring out the best in people like we thought it would. It kind of backfired on us a little bit, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
And it encourages people to interact less, or interact from a distance, and not have that personal element that really matters and people getting along. And look, you don't have to agree with someone. You can have totally opposite opinions. You can even say, I just don't really like that person very well. But doesn't mean you can't work together or have a meal together or so forth. But you got to be open to being with people as opposed to staying in your little echo chamber in your man cave in your basement.
Yeah. What's wrong with staying in your man cave echo chamber in your basement? You say that like it's a bad thing.
Only if you're a huge Cowboys fan and you watch the Cowboys in your
asking for a friend. Oh, we took shots at the Cowboys. Wow, there you go.
It's a hard life.
They've earned it. They have the same problem my Raiders do. The owners are the problem.
Okay, so
my dear friend Chip Kelly is coming to help.
Yeah. We were finally got some good. And now, are you talking about the Cowboys or the Raiders?
Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah. I know that we got that really good coach.
Offensive coordinator Chip Kelly.
Okay.
He put won national championships at Oregon, went to the Eagles, 49ers. Just won. He was the O coordinator at Ohio State. Just won national championship. Raiders just plucked him for the OC. So, brilliant guy. Grew up in New Hampshire, of all places, to get an offensive coordinator. But he's going to help. I'm looking forward to seeing the Raiders do this coming.
I keep thinking I'm going to wake up. This is some dream I'm having about the Raiders because, we're paying 4 coaches right now, evidently at the same time, because we made so many bad coaching deals. I think we're still paying Gruden to whatever. So, anyway, it's the owners that are the problem.
Brady contributes to the pool of paying people.
That'll work.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about owners. We have the most interesting owner for the Cowboys. That's a conflict I can't resolve.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, he wants to be GM. He's GM too or something, right? He's like trying to wear all the hats and stuff. He even cleans the bathroom stalls when he's busy. So there you go. Tell us a little bit about each of you guys. How did you get into this field? How did you grow up? What influenced you? And how did you kind of develop these traits of getting along with others?
Sure, absolutely. So my background, I'm weird. I was always in conflict resolution. Most people are like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, hey, this sounds amazing. So your master's, doctorate, everything was all in mediation, resolving conflict once it escalated. And so it was dealing with people once they're triggered, once they've, and I can tell you some crazy stories, but once they're at each other's throats and spending all that time and effort and energy trying to get them to calm down and come to a solution. And I don't know if you can see it, but I had a 13-hour mediation where I got shingles one time.
Oh, really?
And realized, man, why are dealing with conflict at that level is brutal. You start headed off on the front end. So that's what kind of influenced me.
Yeah, I grew up with a crazy dad who was a coach of the U.S. ski team, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so I got to travel the world with a bunch of downhill skiers and ski jumpers and people living on the hairy edge. They would go, down some beers and then go 80 miles an hour down a hill. And so I had some interesting role models in terms of this is how you handle challenges in life.
Wow.
And then my dad, I went with the 80 Olympics and had the he's friends with Herbie Brooks and got to sit front row.
Oh, wow.
That team did. And so those are sort of my influences on, look, we don't have to live a normal life, and there's some interesting paths, and we have to be a little bit crazy in what we do. But if we do, there's some fun things out there for every one of us, regardless of our backgrounds. And so it led me down this crazy path of working in sports and dealing with, big egos but sensitive people off camera, but the superstars on camera and just sort of a crazy path that introduced me to this guy and then got us into writing books.
There you go. Is this the first book you guys have written together?
First tag team, yes. My third and the first one together.
There you go. So, conflict is a big issue. One thing you guys talk about, and, there's lots of, it seems to be a rise in narcissism, and I hate to use that term much because it's overused. I think pretty much every data I hear from now tells me that they dated the last 10 narcissists, and only about 5% of people on the earth are clinically diagnosed as narcissists. But there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on right now, especially in like politics or people. I've sometimes you run into semi-narcissistic people. Social media's kind of done it to us. But, they'll gaslight you with bullshit. They'll argue some sort of thing like, you have people arguing that the earth isn't flat. And we all know the earth is triangle. It's not round. It's not flat. It's a triangle, right? So we all have to learn to agree on something. I'm just kidding, people. Don't write me. Please don't start a cult with that. But, when you have somebody, who's arguing with the sky isn't blue, it can be hard to have an argument with those people. Does your book help that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the kind of touch on both those points are awesome. So the one in terms of what are people really arguing about? Are they really arguing that the sky's blue, or do they just want to argue? Are they really upset about this issue? Or
it sounds like my first 10 marriages.
Or is it the other 16 issues before they got built up into this? And so one of the biggest things we focus on is, okay, what is the true trigger of this? Is it a process conflict? Is it over how things are done? Is control? And as you mentioned, people claim, oh, I dated a narcissist, or this person's narcissistic. Well, could just be that this person truly is process triggered and they want things done a certain way. They want to be known that they are right. Versus a task triggered person that they just want things done. They don't really care enough to argue about this. And so one of the biggest things our book focuses on is, if you recognize that first, there's practical techniques for dealing with process conflict triggered person versus a task triggered. So if we take a step back for a second, figure out what it is we're dealing with, there's some plays that we can play to make it easier.
Yeah. We all have different styles and habits, and the clashes that come out where someone's going to dig in their heels and claim to you the sky is red and I can prove it to you. They dig in their heels for a reason, and knowing what style they are and what habits, and knowing how to get past that. There's some practical tips that we thought, that'd be really helpful, because you can get caught in that loop of arguing sky color, but it doesn't do anything for you, and it's not doing anything for them either. So here's how to pivot from that.
Mm-hmm. The book will help guide you through that and figure out the different steps. I like there's another chapter that you talk about in your book on how to defuse emotion. I imagine emotion is a big player in this negotiation of how to get along with anybody, because you know, a lot of people are emotionally connected to their ideas, especially conspiracy theorists are a good example. They're really emotionally connected to that stuff, which is probably why they're not using logic and reason. They're using emotion and what feels good. And certainly, you know, I mean, it'd be great if I could blame everything up on little green men running around from Martian land and lizard people politicians. And we all know they're not green, they're blue, clearly, right? We all agree on that. See what I did there? Anyway, I read the book. I just assumed the sale. But no, it'd be great if I could just blame everything on everyone else. And there seems to be a lot of that loves to go around right now, where people don't take self accountability. It's almost a victimhood competition society. How do you resolute some of that stuff where, you know, people are, I don't know, they're either looking for attention or validation or emotionally attached to something? How do you get them detached from emotion? Do you smack them over the head with the book? Is that what you should do?
Yeah, you know, it leaves a nice imprint, and then the logo's valuable, and we'll sign it.
Rebranding.
So resulting to violence is appropriate then?
As long as you buy the book.
Don't do that, folks. We're just kidding.
You know, in these sort of situations, you made a great point, right? Someone is not getting something they need. Their feelings have been hurt. They have some sort of need, some sort of validation, right? Their purpose in life, their meaning, right? Their contribution. They're not being heard. They're not getting something. But because the argument and emotion spikes and people take it personally, neither side is understanding, well, what is that fundamental need? And the key is bring that emotion down so you can identify that need, and then you can help them get that. And even if you don't agree with their point of view, you're helping them get something that's being unfulfilled, and then they're willing to talk to you.
Is that one of the things to look at? Like, instead of like looking at this person like they have a dumb idea or they have an opposite argument, they're trying to fulfill something, and how can I help them fulfill what they're trying to fulfill without, you know, agreeing with them that the earth is, you know, shaped like a pizza?
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of it is either, you know, does that person just need to vent? They just need to vent. They just need somebody to listen to, and they need to talk. Or is it that, hey, what they're arguing about is not really what they're pissed off about? You know, it really is about something else. And so regardless, we have a couple core techniques that are going to work in either situation to just immediately lower that emotion so we can start to assess which one of these two things is it. Do they just need to be heard, or are they really upset about something different?
There you go. Sometimes you have a lot of that in intersexual dynamics of like, what is the real argument about that we're having, you know, and sometimes trying to get to what the core problem is. One of the challenges I had as a CEO was, especially with my sales, when, you know, their head would get polluted with some sort of home issue or some sort of issue whatever it was they're having, and I had to go in as a psychiatrist and try and figure out what was going on and mucking up their performance, and surgically remove whatever it was from their brain, basically. And so you had to go in and you're like, okay, what's the real problem that's going on here? And people flail about. It's kind of interesting, and it makes it really hard to have discussions sometimes.
Because sometimes the thing that's really bothering them, they're not comfortable sharing, or they haven't spent some time, you know, thinking about, hey, you know, it's okay to share this, or, you know, frankly, some people just need, you know, 30-second timeout in between work and home, and vice versa. Take a pause, get reset, get yourself, you know, focused on the new environment. And because of the pace of life, they don't take that minute to get themselves reset, and they need someone either to give them permission to get reset or help them do that reset.
I wish people were better at this sort of stuff, but it's kind of weird. It's maybe the one reason we never learn from our conflicts and what we do. What are some other techniques you'd like to tease out that are in the book to help people?
This is where we get to have fun. Two core ones. You know, the first one, you know, my wife's so much smarter than me and knows me so well, and so do my daughters, that she sees through that completely. The second technique, I got away with it for, I think, 10 years, and then now I'm out of tricks. So the first is we call it the voice technique. So psychologically, holding a higher tone of voice than someone else if they feel connected is very difficult to do. So one of the first things, you know, we recommend is, if you're in a conflict setting, start to slow it down, start to make that eye contact. And in the town where I do mediations, attorneys call it my Matthew McConaughey voice, because it sounds like I'm going to say, all right, all right, all right. You start to bring that voice down and calm and talk. And now I'm weird, and we're both weird, so I love doing this with customer service agents. If they're from New York, I try and get them talking West Texas. If they're West Texas, get them talking something else. But starting to lower that emotion by lowering that tone of voice, making good eye contact, and asking clarifying questions, it's going to, one, make people feel validated. You're asking them, clarifying something they're saying, but they'll see it. They'll start to match your voice, which is a lot of fun. Fun to try out.
You can get people talking in a British accent if you talk, because we have mirror neurons. We're designed to try and work together as groups, as a human species, and so people will pair it. If you're talking slower, right? If you're more calm, people will pair it, and then they'll relax and they'll open up.
Yeah. I see what you're doing. You're kind of leading with a little bit of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where you're doing kind of, you're kind of resetting the tone and resetting the speed. And I can see how that can work really well, because you're taking the temperature down verbally, and hopefully emotions will go down as well.
Yeah, without saying, hey, you need, someone is they're upset and they're waving their arms and they're talking fast. And you say, hey, just slow down, right? People take offense to that, right? They'll do the exact opposite. Hey, don't tell me what to do, right? And so this way you're not commanding them, you're not telling them whatever, you're just slowly guiding them in a way that's comfortable.
There you go. How do you get people that are doing it for attention and validation constantly to stop doing it and recognize that they're doing certain things for attention and validation? Sure. Is there a way to get around that?
This is where the detour technique comes in, and is a little bit of fun. So the biggest thing with conflicts is there's always multiple issues, even if most of them are smoke screens. And we make up stuff that justifies our position. My daughter is so brilliant, and I got a doctorate, and I do this for a living. She got away with it for 6 months of telling me, "But Daddy, I'm scared." I'd say, well, baby, don't be scared. Like, Daddy's here. And she'd make me do whatever she wanted. I didn't catch it until she was scared of pants on the way to church. And so we come up with all of these. Pants. Oh yeah, we come up with all of these issues and smoke screens and all of these things to justify. But there's always core issues that are most important. So one of the things we recommend is, okay, if somebody's starting to get too hot, if that emotion's starting to spike, reason's starting to lower, or they're doing it for attention seeking, calmly ask them a question about another issue they mentioned. What they'll have to do is they'll have to stop, think, pivot, and then get ticked off again. And then we just detour over to the next question. So it works because we're not interrupting them. We're telling them, we're talking about something they are upset about. Mm-hmm. So we're validating that, but we're making them pivot and go in different directions. So we can keep doing that until that emotion is lowered.
Each time they pivot, they've got to pause, they got to think. That slows them down. That brings more rational thinking back in. And if they're just yelling and screaming for attention and you get them to pivot, eventually they're talking about something that isn't attention seeking, and that's gone. They let it go.
There you go. Asking questions. I like that, because, it shows that you're interested in what they're talking. You're trying to understand. You're seeking to understand. If you're arguing with them, you're just trying to off-put what they're saying as opposed to listening. And you can kind of start to control the narrative. There's several people you talk about in your book: the avoider, the competitor, the analyzer, the collaborator, and the accommodator. Do you want to maybe touch on a couple of those? And is that the style of person I need to know who I'm arguing with, I guess?
Yeah, essential. And Jimmy can give you some breakdown. But the key is recognize when we get our buttons pushed, when we're stretched, when someone pisses us off, when we're late, when we're out of our comfort zone, we tend to fall into one of 5 habits. We tend to fall in one of these styles. So we call them conflict styles. We call them go-to styles. Like a pitcher in the 9th inning, when you need an out, you go to a pitch. These are the habits, the behaviors that you have that you go to when you're in high leverage situation. And so if someone's in a tough situation or they're pissed off, if you know what style, what go-to they're going to go to, you have a huge advantage.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely. And with the disclaimer being that some people are different at work and different at home. And we're not saying that most people will resonate with a couple of these, but this is when you're triggered, when that emotion spiked. What's that default style you reach to? So, to mention one of the biggest things is, sure, know your own style, know what buttons get pushed, kumbaya, be a better person. But mainly it's, hey, can you assess the other person in a conflict and know that person's an avoider? These are the techniques I need to play. This is the style I need to match. And so on these styles, the avoider, that's kind of has a misconception. They don't avoid conflict because they're scared of it. They don't avoid conflict because they don't like confrontation. It's an opportunity cost analysis. They're looking at it as, I'm not going to deal with that until it escalates into a big issue. And then I'm going to deal with it right now. But I'm not going to deal with real conflicts unless I have to. Whereas a competitor, if they have an issue, you're going to know about it. If I'm upset with Chris or I'm upset with John, I'm going to tell him. We'll tell him what I think the solution should be. And let's go fix this right now. Let's Barney Fife it, nip it in the bud.
Barney Fife it. Is that that's the first time I've heard that term. Well, golly. Well, golly. I'll be gone. Yeah. Gosh, damn. Somebody grew up watching Andy Griffith Show.
Oh yeah. Everyone.
Black and white TV. Well, everyone that's cool. Anyway, there you go. I took a swipe at those millennials. So anything more we need to know about what you guys have there in the book? Let's talk about some of the wares that you guys have on your website, some of the consulting or coaching maybe you offer.
Absolutely. So I think the number one biggest thing, and we talk in the book about how to assess someone and how to identify their style, some of the practical 4-step checklists on how to do it. We also do have a scientifically validated assessment tool that you take, log on, quick and easy, and it'll tell you what your profile is. But it takes it a step further. It's not just, okay, I'm a task trigger avoider. It's, hey, here's my best teammate, here's my worst teammate. And so in corporate settings, we'll come in, we'll assess a whole team and say, yeah, John and Jim are going to have some issues, and here's why. So you might want to step in here.
Just fire both of them now.
Just fire them both. Or hey, Chris and John would be best friends. And so we strongly recommend that before first dates. It's not awkward. Just send it out and just say, hey, before we go out, let's see if you're an avoider or a collaborator, and go from there. But we do have that on the site. We have it to where you can, if you purchase the assessment, you get a free book. Purchase a book, you get a free assessment. So
someone at the bar picking up chicks, I can be like, hey, let's do this little game on my phone real quick.
There you go. Conflict dogs. We even give you a code for discount.
Exactly.
Just for you.
And we're sports guys, and so it really gives you a scouting report. It tells you what weaknesses are and breaks it down. And you get a scouting report for all your coworkers and a scouting report for your spouse.
I think you guys need to sell this to Tinder, man. This sounds like a good idea.
Commission, Chris.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get some money from the Tinder. They got some money over there, I hear. They're just getting sued right now, so there you go.
All that conflict.
Yeah, I mean they're $billion business. They own there's one company that owns all the apps. So
crazy.
You should do that because I'm a single guy. I run dating groups, and so any sort of qualification we can get, we need all the help we can get here.
To weed out.
It's a minefield, if you will, of craziness. But that being said, give us the .coms as we go out, guys, one more time, and then tell us where people can find you on the interwebs and give people your final pitch out.
Yes, it's the Conflict Docs, DOCS, theconflictdocs.com. All kinds of resources and links, and that's sort of the hub for what we're doing.
Absolutely. Got all the stuff on there and books on, I think, pretty much every major site to purchase.
And you got some big crazy thing going on in your life, and your orgy group isn't getting along with each other, then call us.
There you go.
Your orgy group. There you go. Well, sometimes everyone finds a way to have conflict nowadays. Everyone seems to want to argue with everybody. I think everyone's just miserable. I think it's half the problem. But I like how
business for us.
I like how to master the 5 conflict styles, so I'm going to definitely do that. And if not, I just might resort to violence with the book. Don't do that, people. It's not what you should do. Never resort to violence. We need to learn as a society, talk things through, and this is why this book's important because, we have too much violence going on, and we have too much just kind of at each other's throat, and we just argue with each other on social media, and it might be better, to what. One of my favorite lines is from Abraham Lincoln. He said, I don't like that gentleman. I guess I should get to know them better.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And so understanding each other better, or maybe our journeys we're on. I know that trauma is a big issue. A lot of times when I'm either arguing or debating or analyzing somebody in the dating field as well, I'm looking for trauma, unresolved trauma. And that seems to be some triggers that happen with some people. They're in fight or flight mode over the trauma they have that's unresolved. Sometimes that can be an issue too as well.
Absolutely.
And that's when I go, just go see a fucking therapist. Leave me alone. So there you go. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure. It's wonderful to get to hang out with you.
Thank you. And thanks to our audience for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold. How to Get Along with Anyone. Master the 5 Conflict Styles, the playbook for predicting and preventing conflict at work and at home. Well, I know a lot of you married people probably need it, so make sure you buy the book there. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that's